Imagine you are a Roman senator, a nobleman who has staked everything on one man. Your champion is Pompey the Great, the most celebrated general of his generation, backed by the full might of the Roman Senate and an army that outnumbers its enemy 2-1. Your opponent is a traitor, a rebel who has illegally crossed the Rubicon and plunged the world into civil war. Gaius Julius Caesar. On a dusty plain in Greece, your champion has the rebel cornered, his army starving and exhausted. Victory is not just certain, it is a matter of destiny. But the traitor is Caesar, and his soldiers are the hardened veterans of the Gallic Wars. This is not just a battle. It is the final bloody argument over the future of Rome. This is the story of Pharsalus, the day the Roman Republic died and an emperor was born. The year is 48 BCE. For nearly a year, the Roman world had been tearing itself apart. Gaius Julius Caesar, the conqueror of Gaul, had been declared an enemy of the state by the Senate. In response, he made a fateful decision, leading his single, loyal legion across the Rubicon River, the legal boundary of his command, an act of open rebellion from which there was no return. The senators, led by Caesar's former ally and now bitter rival, Gnaeus Pompeius Magnus, Pompey the Great, had fled Italy, crossing the Adriatic Sea to Greece. There, in the eastern provinces, Pompey had used his immense prestige and the vast resources of the Republic to assemble a colossal army. He was joined by hundreds of senators, the cream of the Roman aristocracy, who saw him as the champion of the Republic against a would-be tyrant. Caesar, after securing his position in Italy and Spain, had pursued him, ferrying his own smaller, battle-hardened army across the sea in a risky winter crossing. The initial stages of the campaign had gone disastrously for Caesar. At the Battle of Dyrrhachium, he had suffered a humiliating defeat, his army nearly shattering against Pompey's superior numbers and strong defensive position. He had been forced to retreat inland, his soldiers starving, exhausted, and demoralized. Pompey's commanders, elated by their victory, urged him to march on Italy and reclaim Rome. But Pompey, cautious and determined to win a final glorious victory, chose to pursue Caesar's broken army. On the plains of Pharsalus in central Greece, the two titans of Rome would finally meet in a battle to decide who would be the master of the world. Pompey's camp was a city of supreme confidence. He commanded a massive force of over 45,000 infantry and 7,000 cavalry, outnumbering Caesar's army by more than 2-1. His legions were well-fed, well-supplied, and their morale was sky-high after their recent victory. More importantly, his camp was filled with the most powerful senators and aristocrats of Rome, the faction known as the Optimates. They already saw the battle as a foregone conclusion. The historian Plutarch tells us they were not preparing for a battle, but for a celebration. They decorated their tents with laurel wreaths, the symbol of victory. They cooled their finest wines and prepared magnificent victory feasts. They spent their days arguing not about how to win the battle, but about how to divide the spoils of power after Caesar was defeated. They debated who would get Caesar's prestigious office of Pontifex Maximus, and they drew up proscription lists, marking down Caesar's supporters for execution and their property for confiscation. What do you think is the greater danger in a leader, overconfidence or excessive caution? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. Pompey himself, though a brilliant and experienced general, was swept up in this tide of arrogance. He had initially wanted to avoid a pitched battle, preferring to use his superior navy and numbers to starve Caesar's army into submission, but he was under immense political pressure from the senators in his camp. They openly mocked his caution, calling him Agamemnon, King of Kings, implying he was dragging out the war just to keep them under his command. Stung by these insults and confident in his massive cavalry advantage, Pompey abandoned his patient strategy. He would give the senators the glorious, decisive battle they craved. His plan was simple, direct, and built upon his greatest strength, his cavalry. His 7,000 horsemen, a force that outnumbered Caesar's a staggering 7-1, were to be massed on his left flank. They were commanded by his ambitious and aggressive second-in-command, Titus Labienus, a man who had once been Caesar's most trusted general in Gaul but had since defected. Labienus's orders were to smash through Caesar's weak cavalry, then wheel around and envelop the entire Caesarian army from the rear. The Roman legions in the center would simply have to hold their ground while the cavalry won the battle. It was a solid, conventional plan, a hammer blow that seemed unstoppable. Caesar's camp, by contrast, was a place of quiet desperation. His army numbered just 22,000 infantry and 1,000 Gallic and Germanic horsemen. They were the veterans of a decade of brutal warfare in Gaul, perhaps the finest soldiers in the world, but they were exhausted, starving, and their numbers were dangerously low. Caesar knew that a conventional battle against Pompey's force would mean annihilation. He needed a tactical masterpiece, an answer to the overwhelming threat of Pompey's cavalry. He deployed his legions in the traditional 3 lines. He gave command of the left wing to his loyal general, Mark Antony, and the center to Domitius Calvinus. He himself took command of the right wing, positioning himself directly opposite his great rival, Pompey. His 1,000 horsemen he placed on his right flank, knowing they would face the crushing charge of Labienus's 7,000. It looked like a suicidal deployment. But Caesar had a secret weapon, an ingenious tactical innovation that he had conceived specifically for this moment. From the 3rd line of each of his legions, he secretly pulled out a single cohort, creating a hidden 4th line of his best and most hardened centurions and legionaries. This elite reserve, some 2,000 to 3,000 men strong, he positioned at an angle behind his own cavalry, concealed from the view of the enemy. He gave these men specific and highly unusual instructions. They were not to throw their javelins, their pila, at the enemy horses. Instead, he ordered them to hold onto them and use them as stabbing spears. He told them to ignore the horses and to aim their pila directly at the faces and eyes of the proud, aristocratic Roman horsemen. It was a brutal, psychological tactic designed to counter not just the cavalry charge, but the vanity of the men who rode them. This hidden 4th line was Caesar's trump card, the key to his entire strategy. I'm curious to know where you're watching from. Let us know your location in the comments. The battle began as Pompey had planned. His legions in the center advanced to meet Caesar's, and the 2 lines of Roman infantry, once comrades, crashed together in the brutal, bloody work of a civil war. But the main action, the battle-winning move, was happening on Pompey's left flank. Titus Labienus, confident of victory, led the charge of 7,000 cavalry. The massive wave of horsemen slammed into Caesar's small contingent of 1,000 Gallic and Germanic cavalry. Caesar's men fought with incredible bravery, but they were hopelessly outnumbered. As planned, they began to give ground, slowly at first, then breaking into a feigned or forced retreat. To Labienus and the cheering senators watching from the camp, it looked like the beginning of the end. The Caesarian flank was collapsing. Labienus's cavalry, disorganized and drunk on the thrill of the chase, surged forward, eager to wheel around and attack the rear of Caesar's legions. But as they pursued the retreating horsemen, they galloped straight past the concealed position of Caesar's hidden fourth line, and then the trap was sprung. On Caesar's signal, the 2,000 elite legionaries of the fourth line charged forward. They did not attack the flanks of the cavalry, but charged straight into their front. The Pompeian horsemen, who expected to be facing other cavalry, were shocked to find themselves confronted by a solid wall of the most feared heavy infantry in the world. As instructed, the legionaries did not throw their pila. They used them as stabbing spears, thrusting upwards into the faces and eyes of the horses and their riders. The effect was catastrophic. The proud, aristocratic Pompeian cavalrymen, who, as Caesar had predicted, were more worried about their handsome faces being scarred than about winning the battle, panicked. Their charge dissolved into a terrified, chaotic mob. They turned and fled the field in a complete and utter rout, leaving the flank of Pompey's infantry completely exposed. The weapon that was supposed to win the battle had been utterly broken. With the Pompeian cavalry gone, Caesar's own small but now uncontested cavalry swung around and smashed into the exposed flank and rear of Pompey's legions. At the same time, Caesar, seeing his advantage, did something unheard of for a Roman general. He ordered his fresh third line of infantry to advance and support his exhausted first and second lines, adding a new decisive push in the center. Pompey, watching from his command post, was paralyzed by disbelief. He had seen his battle-winning cavalry charge, his ace in the hole, inexplicably shatter and flee. He now saw his own legions, which he had expected to be victorious, being attacked from the front, the flank, and the rear. The historian Appian wrote that he simply retired to his camp as one thunderstruck. He offered no new orders, no rally, no plan B. The great general seemed to shrink into himself, unable to comprehend the scale of the disaster. Without leadership, the Pompeian legions, though still more numerous, began to panic. Attacked from three sides, their morale collapsed. The retreat turned into a rout. Caesar's veterans, sensing victory, showed no mercy. They hunted down their fellow Romans across the plain. Caesar, however, rode among his men, famously calling out, "Spare the citizens, spare the citizens." He knew that the war was not won by a single battle, but by the peace that followed. He wanted to show his clemency, to win over his former enemies. As his army disintegrated, Pompey the Great fled. He rode to his camp, gathered his family, and disguised himself to escape the slaughter. He would eventually flee to Egypt, hoping to find refuge with the young pharaoh Ptolemy. But the Egyptians, fearing Caesar's wrath, betrayed him. As he stepped ashore from a small boat, he was stabbed to death and beheaded. A pitiful end for the man who had once been the most powerful in Rome. When Caesar arrived in Egypt and was presented with Pompey's severed head, he was said to have turned away in disgust and wept, not for the rival he had defeated, but for the great Roman he had once been. The Battle of Pharsalus was more than just a victory for Caesar. It was the death certificate of the Roman Republic. The political and military power of the Senate was shattered forever. Caesar would go on to become the undisputed master of the Roman world, laying the foundations for the age of the emperors. The battle stands as a timeless monument to his military genius, his ability to innovate under pressure, and his deep understanding of the psychology of his enemies. If you were captivated by this story of ambition, rivalry, and the fall of a republic, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the battles that shaped our world. And for our final question, do you believe Caesar was a tyrant who destroyed the Republic, or a visionary who saved Rome from its own corrupt and chaotic system? Let us know your verdict in the comments below. Thanks for watching.